What up, it's Dane. In this video I'm going to be telling you the difference between whole grains and refined grains. So should you be eating more whole grains? In this video I'm going to use science to tell you exactly that. Okay, so there's 81 people, 40 in a refined group and 41 in a non-refined whole grain group. And very importantly to note, it was a single blind study, meaning the investigators could only know about the treatment after the treatment has been done, right? So they can't have some confirmation bias or something like that. The study ran for about 8 weeks and all the food and stuff was provided as well. Now they also had a 2-week run-in phase, meaning both of the groups ate the same diet and they had no whole grains whatsoever in these 2 weeks. And as well as this, it's important to note that they were measuring the people about 3 times each week for these 2 weeks. Now this was to determine their maintenance energy needs, so again the calorie maintenance that I always refer to. Now in the whole grain diet group, again you probably would have assumed this, man, the good old bro foods, the brown rice and the oats were included in this group and no refined grains, whereas in a refined grains group there was no whole grains whatsoever. And it's important to know most of the stuff are the same, except from obviously the fiber content is going to be higher in a whole grain diet group, but the meal structures, the macronutrient composition and an amount of calories they both ate was very similar. Now comparing both of the diets, the only significant difference when it comes down to, let's say, carbohydrates, energy density, protein, stuff like that, was the fiber was a lot higher in the whole grain group, as well as the insoluble fiber, if I can say that. Okay, so they also took some measurements like their body weight, and I'll put all the measurements here. And most importantly, it's really important to know that they use the bod pod, and the bod pod has a lot of errors, like 5+% error rate, especially in groups and stuff like this. So the bod pod is definitely not a good way in my opinion. So the whole grain diet had a slightly better effect on an immune response to pathogens compared to the refined diet group, but besides that there wasn't really any other benefits on an immune response, and they are not inflammatory, right? There's no effect that showed they are this inflammatory thing. So this goes against the whole notion of, let's say, people that say, okay man, the paleo diet is good because you consume whole grains, it's inflammatory, all this kind of stuff. It's not. Now getting into the body weight, the results show that in the refined group they lost minus 0.5 kg compared to the whole grain group that only lost minus, let's say, 0.1 kg. Now you probably think, okay, there's some difference here, but most importantly, it's really important to know that it's probably like a change in variance or something like that. And like I said before, the body weight was measured non-fasted, right? So there was a fasted when they took this body weight, therefore fluctuations in food, fluctuations in water content, all this kind of stuff matters as well. So most likely it's not significant at all, it's just all these fluctuations in play. And again, the fat mass was also again greater in a refined group of minus 0.8 compared to minus 0.1. Now again, it's very important to know here that the bod pod was used for body composition. So this was used to track the amount of fat mass that was lost, and like I said before, the bod pod has got a lot of errors going on with it. So again, this is not very accurate in my opinion. Okay, so let's look at the results when it comes to your rest and metabolic rate. So your metabolic rate, some people claim that eating whole grains is really going to speed up your metabolism, but let's tell the truth here. The difference was no longer significant anymore when the non-compliant subjects, as they like to call it, or people that didn't want to follow the rules anymore, man, they couldn't be asked to this stuff. Basically wasn't even counted in the analysis, so the results not significant anymore. Alright, let's talk about energy balance, because that's what we care about when it comes to aesthetics, bruh. So basically there's not really much difference. Let me explain. So when a change in your RMR, your rest and metabolic rate, was added to the change in fiber, the difference came to like 92 calories, and this is what you would see in an abstract, right? So again, you're probably like, almost 100 calories, man, this could make some difference to me here. But here's the thing. You need to understand it's the change in fiber. So for example, when you go to the toilet regularly, you do actually lose a lot of energy just by having a poo, right? Here's probably the biggest takeaway you can take from this study, right? For example, I talked about the rest and metabolic rate. It didn't really get impacted that much, right? And like, so they say, but in my opinion, this was just like more of a measurement error or something like that. But let's say it did. Even so, and there's way more things to the total daily energy expenditure than your rest and metabolic rate. Let me simplify this for you. So we all know in order to lose weight, we need to be in a calorie deficit. We need to expend more energy than we consume. Again, let me simplify this. So our energy intake is our food. Now our energy expenditure, which we can't really control at all really, So number one is the rest and metabolic rate, which I'm talking about here. So this is just like basically all the things you need to do every single day to maintain all the vital things. That's number one, your RMR, which I'm talking about here. Now, number two is your thermic effect of food. How many calories are being burned when you consume food? Number three, thermic effect of activity. How many calories are being burned when you just move around? And number three, NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So how many calories are being burned when you fidget, when you stomp your feet, stuff like this. So there's 4 components. Now, even if the rest of metabolic rate changed a little bit from the refined grain group to the whole grain group, does that mean there's a difference in total daily energy expenditure, which we're really looking for if you're looking to burn more calories, or should I say lose more calories per day? No, that doesn't mean anything, right? Just because your RMR is changing a little bit doesn't mean maybe that day you're fidgeting a bit more, you're burning a bit more calories there, you're a bit more active, you're burning a bit more calories there, you're eating more protein. We all know that protein has a higher thermic effect of food. It burns more calories than, let's say, carbohydrates, so maybe you have a high protein intake that day. You see what I mean? It's very hard to control all these variables and just direct that at the rest of metabolic rate. Okay, so let's talk about blood sugar, because let's face it again, a lot of people will obsess over blood sugar. They'll say, hey man, don't eat these high glycemic carbohydrates, man. Don't eat potatoes. Eat all whole grains. Brown rice, no white rice. Sweet potatoes, no white potatoes. Stuff like this, right? So let me tell you what the blood sugar results showed. Okay, so instead of me boring you too much, I'll just put them all on the screen here. There's no difference between the refined diet group and a whole grain diet group in these 4 factors. And getting to the results of the appetite, there was no significant difference between both of the groups at all. So this means the hunger was basically the same, the fullness was basically the same, the eating behavior and also the cravings and all that kind of stuff was all the same. And talking about gut bacteria, because let's face it, not everyone is about aesthetics. Some people just want to keep healthy. So here's more information on that. I'll pop it on the screen there. Therefore, I don't have to go over all of it, because frankly, I don't actually know all these like very complicated names. I just kind of got them from this study. So, you know, I'm not going to bullshit you that I know about this stuff, right? Okay, so just before we clear the study up and draw the conclusions that we can from this study, and if whole grains is bullshit or not, let me quickly tell you more about appetite, right? Because a lot of people, our moms or fathers, have told us, hey man, or even the bro on YouTube, right? Maybe I'm the bro that said, eat sweet potatoes, brown rice, this kind of stuff. It's much better than white rice. Now here's the deal. Okay, so talking more about appetite, if my battery doesn't die this time, here's the 4 factors that you need to know, right? So number 1, you need to think of the energy density. How many calories are packed into a package? Let me explain, let me simplify this. For example, in broccoli, there's like, let's say, I don't know exactly, but let's say like 50 calories in like a big pack of broccoli, if I can say that, compared to, let's say, a Mars bar, which is like, I don't know how big they are, I don't even really eat them these days, but let's say that big, really thin, in a very small package, there's like, let's say 500 calories, right? So you can see the Mars bar is more energy dense than a broccoli. So that's factor number 1, energy density. Factor number 2 is the palatability of the food. Now, this basically means how good does the food taste, man? If it tastes really good, if it's like pizza, if it has a lot of salt, sugar, fat, concentrated starch, umami flavor, like the meaty flavor, if it's got any combination of those, then it's likely to taste really good. It's likely you can consume more calories. So that's factor number 2. Now the last 2 factors is this. Number 1, the protein content. If it's high in protein, more likely it's going to fill you up a lot more. Number 4, you haven't guessed this one, the fiber. Is it high in fiber? Because generally foods that are high in fiber and have, let's say, a high protein content as well are going to fill you up a lot more, right? So that's talking about the study again. Whole grains doesn't necessarily fill you up more, and neither does low GI foods, bro. So some of the limitations of the study is that the author stated that changing your diet from, let's say, a refined grain and diet group or just diet to a whole grain diet will increase your rest of metabolic rate. Now this is a little bit false, because this is not what happened in the study, man. As well as this, man, they compared a refined grain only group compared to a whole grain only group. And I don't know about you, man, but like, let's not jump to the extremes. Let's not just eat all refined grains. Most people eat a mixed diet, right? So they have some refined grains and some whole grains. So switching up your diet to whole grains may lead to a positive impact on energy balance, right? For example, you might burn, let's say, 60 calories extra per day, or let's say lose extra 60 calories per day because you're not literally burning them. The 30 calories might be from, let's say, the whole grains itself, and the other 30 calories might be from the additional fiber intake, and we all know what that means. That 30 calories is basically from going to the toilet. So the conclusion that we can draw from this is that whole grains are not the biggest deal, but here's the thing, right? Switching your diet up from refined grains to whole grains isn't going to impact you or detriment you in any way, right? It may help you burn or lose 60 extra calories per day. For some people, that might be very beneficial. Let me simplify this again. Let me explain. For someone that needs to eat, like, let's say 1,200 calories per day, which is likely not you, which might be a woman, for example, that 60 calories will be more of an impact. For example, someone like myself that needs to eat like 3,500 calories per day, that 60 calories is like, what the hell, man? This is like an excuse. This is small. But yeah, that's basically it. And number two is that, like, the effect that had on the gut bacteria and also the inflammatory effects was probably like no effect at all. So that's the whole grains are not like some inflammatory like special thing or something like that that some paleo people or the paleo notion will tell you. But that's that, man. My opinion on this is that, and again, I don't like to pull conclusions from one studies and stuff like this, but my opinion on this is just stop overcomplicating stuff, right? If you don't like brown rice or something like this, just eat white rice. And in fact, it really doesn't matter. Like I said, the effects, there's no effects whatsoever. And when you actually take into account like the mineral content, the vitamin content or something like that, for example, let's say rice is high in phelamine or some bullshit like that, or brown rice is high and in another thing, right? It's a win here, a loss there, win here, a loss here. Same with like sweet potatoes and white potatoes. Basically, I'm gonna stop talking now, but don't overcomplicate it. Just really concentrate on these things, right? Number one, hit your calories for the day that you need to hit. Number two, keep your diet reasonably clean, right? I'm not saying go eat junk foods and stuff like this. Try and keep it reasonably healthy. It doesn't need to be like all whole grains and stuff like that. And then number three is, I don't know if I said it already, but hit your macronutrient goals. And that's that, man. Don't overcomplicate stuff. You know how it is out here, man. Turn on the post notifications. More importantly, stop eating whole grains all the time, man. Seriously, it's annoying me. I'm joking, man. Stay positive, stay smiling. Let's get this, and subscribe more for more science explained videos, and I'll see you in the next one.